As summer kicks into high gear, the U.S. Forest Service is warning about an invasive ant species found in dozens of states. It's called the Asian needle ant, and it was first seen in the U.S. nearly a century ago, but it's since been spotted across the East Coast, the South, and parts of Washington state. While the ant is not considered aggressive, its sting can cause a potentially deadly allergic reaction, so something to watch out for. And Eric Day joins us now with more on this. He's an entomologist at Virginia Tech. Eric, thanks for being with us. Where did these ants come from? I would guess Asia. How quickly have they spread in the last few years?
Well, their native range is China, the Koreas, and Japan. First detection in the United States was in 1934, so they've been here a while. But we've been seeing them slowly spread across most of the eastern United States. They are in also, as you mentioned, Washington state. A fairly cryptic ant. It doesn't make mounds, but it nests typically in woodland area and rotten wood.
So how dangerous are they to humans and to the environment?
Well, it's like any stinging insect. The reaction is very individual. So if you're someone who's prone to have a bad reaction to any kind of sting, say from a bee or wasp, then likely you're going to be having issues with this particular ant. So, again, kind of individual. For people who've been stung by them, they've described it as a very painful sting, and that this is something that is very unpleasant. Although, fortunately, the number of stings we get reported are very low.
Yeah, as someone who seems to attract all the bugs in my neighborhood, I can definitely understand why it's important to watch out for this. Eric, how easy, though, is it to tell the difference between a native ant species and the Asian needle ant? Is it important to keep that distinction in mind?
Well, the main thing about these is that they nest in these woodland areas, so they won't make a mound. So you won't see a mound associated with them. But if you're typically like working in a raised bed or working on the edge of your yard or working in a firewood pile, you hit some rotten wood, then you can come across these ants. They're about 3/16 of an inch long. They have this stout stinger on the end of their abdomen. And so that's why people are kind of like, it's cryptic, and then they're messing around and outside with the rotten wood or firewood, and they encounter them and get stung. So it's kind of like a surprise, a bad surprise when you come across these ants.
Definitely a bad surprise. I also am curious. So when spotted lanternflies were spreading all across the Northeast, states encouraged people to stomp on them or call their local officials. It was like a PSA to stomp an ant, or stomp one of those things. But what should we do if we see an Asian needle ant?
Well, there's a number of controls you can put on there in your yard. And that would be, you can just apply some type of insecticide that's labeled for ants. You can put out a bait. They are attracted to protein baits, and they'll do a pretty good job. But there's kind of another factor, too, for these ants, is that they are major disruptors in woodland situations. They've moved in woodland areas. They are feeding on native insects. They've displaced native ants, and kind of a ecosystem disruptor, too. So obviously, you don't want to be applying insecticides in woodland situations, but backyards, number of options, either the bait or some type of insecticide, like a granular insecticide on where you find them.
Eric Day, thank you very much for joining us.
You're very welcome.